In this video, I'm going to take you through my full tutor analysis, part 2 of the ACCA Strategic Business Leader examination for the preceding information of menu craft for the September 2025 sitting. My name is James, I'm an ACCA qualified member, and if you'd like access to my exclusive SBL notes you can see above me that have helped students out around the world to pass their examination, click the link in the description of this video and you can download a copy yourself and follow it through with the video. Also, I'm delighted to say I'm affiliated and associated with Astranti. They offer pre-scene analysis packs to take you through all the key concepts and also mock examinations based on the pre-scene information for menu craft. Again, link down below, check those out. They're definitely going to help you to pass. And for pure transparency, as always on the channel, if you were to purchase anything through those links, I'd be entitled to a small percentage which goes to supporting the YouTube channel. So as always, a massive thank you. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I will get back to you. If you've got the notes, hopefully they are helping you. They are very, very in-depth. That is why we do these videos on here. So that is where we can now get stuck into the next section. So now let's move on to the meal kit options in the bottom left. And this is where meal kit customers in Ireland are increasingly looking for meal options which suit their dietary requirements, so a wide product range. And this has led to meal kit businesses offering, as you would imagine, a wide range of menu choices on there to meet those dietary needs, preferences and tastes. So keywords for you to get down are they've got things like a vegetarian option, a vegan option, gluten-free, low-fat, low-carbohydrate. The other flip side to this, that yes, it's a major SWOT analysis advantage, offering a wide product range. However, there is a risk of making sure that you've got all these different dietary requirements. It could be a sort of legal factor when it comes to a pestle analysis as to what if there was some cross-contamination that the meal kit options have to be dealt with correctly. And that nicely leads us on to the top right now, where we have the meal kit subscription process. How does it work in terms of the business model and the customers actually getting their meal kits? Well, as you can see on there, we have 3 different stages, 1, 2, and 3. And in terms of the descriptions of each of the processes, so what we have up here is subscribing to a meal kit service through a meal kit app or website on there. Those are the 2 different payment options for customers. This subscription process allows customers a large degree of flexibility in terms of the size, type, and frequency. So that is where you will see it on stage 2 in the box. And whatever they wish to purchase, subscriptions can be cancelled at any time by the customers. So you can see it as a nice little flowing diagram on there. Stage 1, setting up an account, whether that's on the website or the mobile app. I think one of those, there might be an issue on the exam day or something might happen with one of them. So make sure you're aware of the 2 different options. I've also put in my notes that there is a data protection risk here because we've got actual customers' personal details, address, payment details. So it could lead to a lawsuit, it may lead to sort of ethical issues, just something for you to get down in your notes. Then we have the variables that we've talked about in terms of the different meal kit options that are part of the process. So you can see underlined different sizes, different preferences, different recipes, and the frequency on there as well. We've got robots and humans both in the stage 2 process when it comes to actually getting the orders ready. And when they are ready at stage 3, where they're going to either confirm the order or cancel it. And we have no details on when the actual payment is taken. So it's all well, say, yes, it goes out to the customers, but one would assume they have to pay before it's delivered. But they've got 48 hours before the required delivery date to actually confirm the selection on there and when it will arrive. Or they can cancel and suspend the actual delivery. So this is where your commercial acumen marks will come into it, that you can discuss on the exam day to the requirements, that you understand the process of the business. Now we come on to, on the right hand side, the key drivers in growth of the meal kit market itself. Or you can see as in my notes, we've broken it down there, or think of it as what could go wrong for menu craft. So the 4 areas of convenience and time saving, quality of the actual products, the menu variety and customization, and lastly, cost effectiveness. As you would expect in terms of time saving and convenience, you don't want to delay or for the actual meals to not turn up. So those are the things in terms of a key driver for growth that could potentially go wrong. But basically in the boxes, it's saying all the positive things that they need to be doing. When it comes to quality, as you would imagine, high quality ingredients, partnering with farmers and suppliers, so different stakeholder groups for you to get down in your notes there. And the key word as well, customers expect their quality and fresh goods in these boxes. So things to go wrong if it's not up to standard or below what the customer had in terms of its expectation for freshest produce. Then in terms of variety and customization, so a diverse menu selection attracts and retains customers because you don't want to eat the same thing every single night. That's why they want a range of recipes, worldwide cuisine. That's where hiring the talented chefs we'll come on to later on is so important, and retaining them and matching their dietary preferences and requirements. So they're paying the premium to have this service for the ease and convenience. They're paying for the variety and not having the same meal every day. We're then coming on to the cost effectiveness on it, and this is where we're told it's essential for them to strike the correct balance between offering value for money and maintaining that reasonable price and getting the quality balance as well. Customers are likely to remain loyal if they perceive the meal kits to be cost effective compared to dining out or having to actually shop for the ingredients and do it themselves. So this is where we're told later on there are offers and deals from competitors to go elsewhere. But the majority of Menucraft customers are very loyal because they like that it has actually formed in Ayland. Another final point below the actual diagram and box you can see at the bottom of page 4 now. So however, despite its growing popularity, the meal kit industry still accounts for a very small proportion, less than 1.5% of the overall food and sales market globally. Key point there, globally, not just in Ayland. Therefore, meal kit businesses recognise that there is still a significant opportunity to develop and grow the meal kit market. So again, screaming out for a SWOT analysis point there as an opportunity. The key fact and point of that 1.5%, make sure you've got down in your notes. And lastly, that's globally, not in Ayland. We can now move on to page 5 on the left-hand side, where we're going to get stuck into the industry challenges and developments. Break it up section by section, where we're told about intense competition and could definitely be linking back into some of those theories we touched on earlier, especially porters. And this is where we have that Menucraft could expand internationally on there, that SWOT analysis, the opportunity. And we're told that several meal kit businesses operating in Ayland, and one of those, Freshie, as there, is a large internationally renowned business with a large corporate backing. So that means as well that they are an enormous organisation, just like on there for Menucraft, which is a publicly listed company. So again, it has that option of maybe getting some corporate backing themselves. Also, and this is a major, don't get heat and eat mixed up with the meal kits. So let me just take you through it here. So the heat and eat market is popular with customers in Ayland. Heat and eat meals are different from meal kit boxes in that they are fully prepared meals which require customers to heat them up in the oven or microwave. So in other words, microwave meals as if you're going to a supermarket. There is no need for customers to undertake any preparation of ingredients. Many supermarkets offer a wide range of heat and eat products on there. So that is where you've got to get down. Menucraft on there don't make heat and eat products. Could be an opportunity, could possibly get more information on this on the exam day, but don't get them mixed up that Menucraft has both of them. That is where it's going to show up to the marker that you've not read the pre-seen information correctly. In addition, supermarkets have recognised the threat, another sort of a SWOT analysis hint there, posed by online meal kit businesses, and some supermarkets have recently started offering their own lines of meal kit options in store and online. So there are threats there as to a SWOT analysis that the supermarket's trying to take away maybe some of Menucraft's customers, but you could look at it from a stakeholder point of view that Menucraft could partner up with a supermarket and offer their produce to save the supermarkets having to do it themselves. Now we're coming on to customer retention, And this is where it's all about the attraction and acquisition that has been actually relatively straightforward, we're told here, and another opportunity for many meal kit businesses with a wide range of marketing and social media coverage through their online channels. So talking about strategy here now. However, customer retention has proved difficult for most businesses, with many customers switching frequently to obtain new customer discounts and offer from competitors. So this is where, as we saw in that market share, you might get on there Menu Craft giving 10% off and then trying to take some of Freshie's market share on there or customers. And this is where we're told, in terms of other customers finding a subscription service either too expensive or too restrictive, customers' churn in the meal kit industry is high, with less than 25% of subscriptions lasting more than 6 months. So they like it for a bit, then they get a bit tired of it, and then they sort of think, oh, is it getting a bit too expensive now? And then they cancel the membership, like we've seen on there for the subscription, and then they either go to a competitor or they just don't have it at all. So key fact there to note down about the 25% of subscriptions lasting more than 6 months on there, with less than 25% of subscriptions lasting more than 6 months, so very short term. We're then coming on to logistical complexities on there for it, with the need to offer a wide variety of meal kits. So imagine you're trying to organize all these different recipes and all these different ingredients and all these different delivery options on there, and it's all about the promise of the freshest range of ingredients. Many meal kit businesses partner with hundreds of different ingredient suppliers on there. This is all trying to meet the customer and what they expect, but we're not told actually if Menu Craft has all of this in place, but this requires significant investment in supplier management information systems and continuous supplier relationship management to ensure that the freshness of the ingredients are available to fulfill the customer's orders when they are demanded. So if you've got customers demanding curry dishes or Caribbean dishes, or maybe, who knows, English dishes, whatever it may be, the Chief Operating Officer is accountable for this area. We're not told who that is, but they are part of the board of directors. Similarly, coordination of customer deliveries is complex and requires significant investment in sophisticated logistics software and strong relationships with third-party logistics suppliers. Again, we're not told actually if Menu Craft has this in place. Make sure you get that down as a point for a pestle analysis as a technological point. And then also, lastly, I've got down there being careful to differentiate between capital expenditure. Can we capitalize the amount that we're paying? Or is it simple revenue expenditure for the day-to-day costs of running the business? We're then told about the food safety and increasing regulations. So meal kits include a wide variety of perishable goods. So those are foods that go off and go bad very quickly, as you would expect. Meat, fish, eggs, dairy products on there, milk, cream, cheeses. And what we're told here, many of these products without suitable packaging, storage and refrigeration are subject to potential cross-contamination on there. Not what you want as a food business, because that could relate into lawsuits, fines on there, and major risks. So with potential cross-contamination, that's all about harmful bacteria, but it's not a science exam, so don't worry. And it grows and could lead to serious illness. In some countries across the world, meal kits have been linked to outbreaks of illnesses and food poisoning. So you could get on the exam day in an exhibit, maybe a bad press release or a social media post, something like that, maybe could come up. So as a result, food standards regulators are becoming increasingly focused on meal kit providers, setting out best practice documentation and increasing regulatory standards and guidance directly related to how meal kit businesses store, package and deliver their raw ingredients and final meal kit boxes. We're going to come on to it in a moment, but you can see on the right hand side on page 6 the key actual government agency which we're going to be talking about later on that is the regulatory body is that Ireland Food Standards Agency, the AFSA. So in terms of thinking about this sort of food safety and regulation, think about what could happen to a customer, worst case scenario, different risks here, the systems that the business has in place, do we need to review these, and then possible negative press release or social media posts again linking into page 10 that we have on there, that Menucraft could lose its license if it doesn't meet those regulatory standards. We now come on to innovations, and this is all about the food production industry, including the meal kit sector, is increasingly turning to robotics in food processing and the manufacturing and in the packaging of final products. So again, from a social aspect of a pestle analysis, that is where that is going to require less people to be part of the process. It may end up laying people off on there. Then we're told about data analytics are also being used more frequently in the industry to predict recipe demands on there for supply availability of goods. Meal kit businesses receive millions of comments and ratings from customers daily through their websites and through social media channels. An analysis and evaluation of this data helps them to identify the best and worst performing recipes, and therefore stocking which ingredients they're going to sell most. For your notes, again, pestle analysis, lots of technology points on here, but the flip side from a legal point of view, the data breach risk of using all these customer information and analytics. What if it got into the public domain? What could possibly go wrong? And on page 8, there is no IT or technology officer accountable for the development of this key area with the right and sufficient technical knowledge. So in other words, if something goes wrong on the exam day and you see it's something to do with technology, refer to the board of directors that they don't have that technical knowledge or someone in place from a IT or technology officer background on there. So that's where we come up to the top, where it leads on to a few more points as well. So this is where they share the recipe with the development teams and procurement teams to incorporate the most recent feedback into the development or improvement of those actual recipes. The procurement teams can use this information to work closely with suppliers to make sure that they actually have the correct goods. So anything to do with procurement, or if it comes up as a requirement on your exam day, this is about the process of acquiring those goods and services that a company needs to operate. So plenty of strengths on there, developing the recipes, and lots of opportunities there to work closely with suppliers and to build better ties. Due to the competition in the meal kit market, some businesses are looking towards new and unique delivery partnerships. So again, another opportunity here to attract more customers and the meal kit experience. So this includes partnerships with large retailers such as supermarkets to sell their meal kit boxes in store, and collaborations with high profile celebrities and celebrity chefs to develop new and exciting recipes. However, you've got to think of the downside on this. So you've got the costs associated with it, the resources, cost benefit analysis. Is it going to be worth it? But from a supermarket's perspective, to partner up with the likes of Freshie or Menucraft, again, you could be asked about this in a stakeholder analysis. That is where it could be a massive positive that in terms of the supermarket having their actual own meal kits, they can just partner with the business and meet the demands themselves. And that nicely brings us on to the KPIs, as you can see on here. Short and sweet, as you would imagine. This is where we're given the revenue, active customers, meals delivered, orders per customer, average order value, food waste, and carbon emissions. They all do what they say on the tin. This is a performance indicator, and I've put the pages on the side later on into the notes where we are given diagrams to analyze them. The key bit for your notes, you can see, as you can see on mine on the screen, there is no graph for food waste in terms of a KPI, and there is no graph provided for carbon emissions. So be sure to look out for that on the exam day. Could potentially come up as an area that you need to be aware of, because that is where it could link into other areas such as legal aspects from a pestle analysis and leading on to other areas of theories that you could have to apply. And that nicely brings us to a close of our part 2 of my pre-scene analysis video. If you found the video helpful, be sure to give it a like, and if you would like to download these notes, click the link in the description of this video. You can download it, follow it through with the others that we have on the channel, and check out those Astranity mock papers, pre-scene analysis packs. They're definitely going to help you to pass. So click those links down in the description, and I'll see you on the other side now for part 3. So thank you very much.